entrepreneurs and professionals of Tampa Bay. Welcome to your hour for getting the information, the tools, and the connections for elevating your business. Welcome to Getting the Edge with Kelly Wilson. And here's your host, Kelly Wilson.
Welcome to Getting the Edge. I'm your host, Kelly Wilson. Thank you so much for joining us today. We are filming every week at the Genghis Khan, a Mediterranean grill in South Tampa. So if you're in the community and you're looking for some great cuisine, stop by and tell them that Edge sent you. Getting the Edge is a great opportunity to share stories, to talk about, highlight business and services and products of great business owners and community leaders in the area. But it's also a great opportunity to learn from them, to gain from their experiences and trials and tribulations, and to really see their pieces of the puzzle and again, just learn. I'm a firm believer that we can all learn so much from each other's journey if we share. So that's really what it's all about for us each week. Getting the Edge is a product of Edge Business Magazine. Really excited to almost be in our 6th year. We'll be 6 years old in September, which is just kind of crazy. Check out edgebusinessmagazine.com. We have a brand new issue launching very soon in April. So really excited about that. We'll be announcing some launch party, fun facts, and just some more event information. So stay tuned. And so again, each week we're here with you to bring a great story, and we've got a great one for you today. My friend, Travis Horn, who I've known for, I don't know, 4 or 5.
Well, I think we met near the outset of your launch, and
it's been a long time.
I've been there from the beginning. I think I feel like it, and I like I told you earlier, I feel like, I said to myself, this lady, she's got a really ambitious model here. Is she going to make it? And you answer that question every day. Your perseverance, you never give up. That's the single, I think, most important trait of a business leader or entrepreneur, or someone who has the perseverance, someone who doesn't give up, and Kelly Wilson's
I appreciate that very much, Travis. Yeah. Thank you. Well, you can't. We can have plans all we want. We all have a plan, but our plans never really go exactly as we want them to. There are peaks and valleys, and you have to.
In the military, we said no plan survives the first contact intact. And so when you meet the enemy,
that's perfect.
Things fall apart. You have to regroup periodically or regularly and alter your plan to accommodate. So I think you've done that, and you've translated that military into the civilian world pretty well. Were you in the military?
No military experience. No, I appreciate that very much. And
I mean it. I mean, it's fun to watch you and see what you've done. And to see what's coming next.
Thank you. Yeah. It is a great feeling to have been around almost 6 years now. Oh, I've been around longer than that, but in the community with Edge in particular, and that people kind of look, oh, there's Kelly again. I mean, she and they know I'm not going anywhere. We're a driving force here to stay.
That says something right there. They know you're not going anywhere. You've become a known quantity. You've built that trust.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
And I think, again, that's another thing that translates to business for all of us. You have to outlast the competition. You have to survive. You have to be a survivor and show that you're going to be there through thick and thin.
Yeah.
And that really is something. I mean, that security, that knowing that you're going to be there, is something that I think all businesses look for, and they want to do business with other people like that.
I appreciate that.
I know I do.
Thank you. And it's interesting too, as you have to evolve, and there are going to be other businesses and entities that come in and do different things, and you have to look at it as almost from a flattering perspective, that it gives you some validation in the sense, okay, well, I must have a good idea, or what and then really just there's room for all of us.
Imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. So
that is what they say. But it is. It's kind of validation, and we all bring something different to the table, and we all have a different message, and I think that we all have our special niches, and that's kind of really been what I don't want to say taught, because I haven't taught anything. I guess the word I've tried to spread is that
I think you don't give yourself enough credit. You have taught people that.
Oh, well, thank you.
You do teach people that. Again, it's through that record of never going away. Never say die, never give up,
Well, it's not an option.
Think of all the businesses and the folks out there that who had a great idea, who just either couldn't or wouldn't or didn't have the will to execute. You did that.
Yeah.
And you should definitely take a bow, take credit for it, because that's what good business leaders do.
Thank you. I think that is one of the hardest things for me, and I know many. I interview great people all the time, and it's hard to. We're our hardest critic, our own worst critic. We're hardest.
You are your absolute own worst critic.
Right, and I think we all are.
You probably have a lot of admirers that you don't realize. Sometimes people don't take enough time to say, "Hey, pat on the back. I think you're doing great work," and
that's really what
I'm glad
this
to have
year,
an opportunity to do that.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I really think it means a lot to me, especially, those great friend of mine, he created like a little video from how I've impacted him over the years in business. And he shared it the other day. And I think, I don't know how long ago he posted it. And I just, as I'm flipping through things, I saw it. And it meant a lot. He took the time to go through, and because we have years of photographs on our Facebook pages. And
gratitude's something you don't often get a lot in business or business and politics.
Nice.
I actually had a young gentleman who is now the head of one of our statewide economic development organizations who told me a few months ago, he said, "You know what? I want to thank you." And I said, "Why?" He said, "Because you got me started on the trajectory that I'm on." And he's now, like I said, a leader in the state of Florida. And frankly, I haven't had too many people give that gratitude or express that gratitude and thanks. And it took me aback a little bit and really made me think that I'd done the right thing.
Well, I think sometimes we don't know who we've impacted. We don't know. And it's really hard. I am more of a private person, and so being vocal and talking through things, and now with social media and all the platforms, it's okay from a business standpoint, but I really want to be that person that I want you to learn from if I can share what I've gone through, and again, we all have to learn our own, we all have our own paths, but if I can share in any way I want to, because that's always kind of been a battle.
Yeah, it's a balance. I think, as someone with a PR background, a public relations background like me, a communications executive, you want to counsel your business leaders to maybe not share everything all the time on a stream of consciousness sort of thing, but there are times when you need to step back, take stock in what you've gone through and express that in a genuine way.
Right.
People really in this new media, this online social media world are looking for that sense of genuineness and for people to be real.
Right. And I think that is a great quality. I'm so fortunate to interview so many great people and to learn. And that's really what these Edge platforms are all about. I didn't feel like it was just fair for me to learn it all. Yeah. And I wanted to share it. And I've been such a talker my entire life that I finally learned to shut up when I need to and really listen. I already know what I have to say.
I've learned that most of the times. Hey, even I'm susceptible to being imperfect at times. Sometimes I may overshare, but I will tell you a little anecdotal story is that I've never really gotten a lot of business off of LinkedIn, and that just may be that I haven't focused on it because that sense of genuineness, that openness, I've probably gotten a lot more business off of Facebook. And again, people may not agree with me on every issue, but they get to know me and they get to know the real you, and they'll circle around and they'll ask you a question. They'll start to feel like they know you and know your life. They know you're not one-dimensional on a political or business level. They'll see you with the birth of new kids.
Oh, that's congratulations.
Recently for me,
well, and I don't even think I introduced you properly. So Travis is a local communications executive and has really been in the community a long time, growing from a PR perspective, marketing, advertising. So we have a lot in common there. But from an overall media standpoint, and you just had a baby girl.
Beautiful little baby girl.
So congratulations.
Hartley Reagan Horn.
To you and Candace.
And her initials just happen to be coincidentally HRH, which Her Royal Highness. That was not was not planned by me, but my wife came up with the name. She saw Hartley on as a name on my family tree from the 1700s, going back to England, and so she liked that family name. And they actually, it's like Schmuckers in London. So if you ask a cab driver in London if they've heard the name Hartley, they'll say, "Oh yeah, the jam company." So they make a lot of jam for their biscuits and scones over there, and Candace picked out this name, Hartley Reagan Horn, and I loved it, and it is what it is.
I know. So how old?
She's now 3.5 weeks old.
Wow.
Yeah, she's beautiful.
It is. It's just so fun.
I have a
sleeping?
son, Thomas, who's 15.
That's right.
And so there's quite a spread. So he's going to be the big brother babysitting, and I just.
Yeah, 15-year spread. I did the 10 years.
Oh, wow.
But you've got 15. Yeah, but you know what? Yeah, you do have the built-in babysitter. You've got like the built-in guardian, kind of, especially when you have the boy first and the oldest. So yeah, it actually.
I'm going to have him boning up on his jiu-jitsu moves. Yeah.
He'll be a black belt.
It is special, and there is something different about having a little girl.
Absolutely.
There is absolutely, for me, just automatically, I think, I grew up in a family with 3 boys, so having a little girl gives me a completely different perspective, and makes me a little misty just thinking about it. But
well, 100%. They are so much harder than boys.
That's not the first time I've heard
100%.
That they're harder
just
than boys.
Wait. Like, you have no idea what you have it in for. And what's so interesting is that it just doesn't, like, and you enjoy and you embrace every moment. My oldest is my son, and then my daughter, so I have Zach older and Jada younger, but my youngest now will be 19. So, but let me just say, night and day.
Are you done now then? So
is that funny?
You're done. You're done.
Absolutely.
So,
especially, my youngest being 20.
Yeah,
that ship has sailed. Yeah, but it's great to have both.
Let the good times roll.
Right. Now, well, and really, I started out very young in my life too. So at this point in my life, I'm just able to have 2 grown children and really just enjoy me. But nonetheless, but you're not sleeping.
I'm
so let's talk
going
about
with the theory that some of my friends are saying, hey, she'll keep you young, and at my age, approaching 50, not near 50 yet, but getting up in that range, I really feel like maybe there's something to that. I feel a little hitch in my giddy up, but I tell you, nothing will inspire you to reevaluate your goals and your objectives and your life plans more than having a little baby boy. So.
Oh, absolutely. It's funny. I remember like years ago, I guess I was in my late 20s, maybe early, I don't know, but we had a friend amongst friends, and he was like having a 40th birthday. And I remember thinking, oh my God, like I know somebody 40. And it's so funny that, it's now we're approaching,
yeah.
I'm late
Welcome
40s.
To the club.
Right. Now you're kind of approaching this like, the other part of life. But 50 is like the cool now. Now I've still have a few years like before I'm there, but
we've outlasted a lot of people. So.
And you look at like Jennifer Lopez and these great, amazing like females, particularly that you can't. And so I guess with different procedures you can.
You can do anything.
You can do anything if you got the money for it these days.
I'm not that lucky.
Well, congratulations. So it's just a few weeks old now. So you are getting some sleep. You look refreshed. You look good today.
A little sleep. I was up quite a few hours last night.
Aww.
I'm wearing it as well as you can, but I think it's my pregnancy weight that's helping fill out my wrinkles.
Well, and just enjoy it. Your pregnancy weight is so funny. Enjoy it, because before you know it, they're grown. So we're going to talk more with Travis Horn when we come back. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
This is the Cannabis Podcast, powered by TrueLeaf on Radio Influence. It's an inside look and the scientific facts in and around the world of medical cannabis. Now, here is your host, Ian Beckles.
He's a successful entrepreneur, published author, top listing agent, a real estate and finance expert that goes to bat for you every day as a consumer advocate. Your host and the consumer quarterback, Brandon Rhymes.
Welcome back to Getting the Edge. I'm your host, Kelly Wilson. Thank you so much for joining us today. We are excited to be here with my great friend, Travis Horn. Thank you so much for joining us today. You've got a lot of exciting things going on. Again, Travis and I have been good friends in the community for a long time. Appreciate your support over the years. Yeah. And it's been nice to watch you grow and get involved. And you got all kinds of things. I love that. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the Lectora Tuesdays.
Yeah, sometimes, I think maybe I do a little too much, but like they say, find a busy person and get something done. So
right,
sometimes that maybe has been.
I think that goes back to the keep you young.
Yeah,
part.
As a business person, sometimes you'll want to bite off a little more than you can chew, but it all has a way of working itself out. I really don't worry about it too much. I do a lot with military veterans charities, volunteering now, coming in as the incoming chairman of the Ybor City Chamber of Commerce.
I know that's really exciting.
Yeah, it's a great place. They've really embraced me.
Well, your office is in Ybor currently, so you're very active, and your Lectora Tuesday. Let's talk a little bit. What is Lectora Tuesday?
Lectora Tuesday.
I love the name, by the way.
I'm a big history buff. A minor in history. I always loved history, and I wanted to do something that was sort of an ode to the workers and the factory workers, the cigar rollers in Ybor City, and I just thought of the lectors. The lectors before television and radio, they read periodicals of the day to the rollers. They would read great books, great novels. So really the workforce was very educated in Ybor City. So to honor those lectors, and I like the feminine version, Lectora. I thought it rolled off the tongue a little better, Lectora Tuesday. So every second Tuesday of the month in Ybor City at our wonderful Entrepreneur Collaborative Center, they're very welcome and let us come in there. We try to have a media panelist, which I'd like to have you on sometime as one of our media panelists, and we have a business leader, and oftentimes we'll have someone who's an appointed a local official, someone who works in government, or maybe an elected official to sort of round out the panel. And that way it also gives the attendees, if they want to meet someone in government, or if they want to make a friend in the media, or just learn from a business leader, we kind of cover all of our bases that way.
Right.
And again, we do it monthly, every month on the second Tuesday of the month. So you can set a recurring calendar invite and get up super early, which I know you love to do, 7:45 to 8:45.
Yeah.
We have networking for 15 and 20 minutes. We do about a 45-minute presentation. We wrap up and let people get out of there.
It's difficult to network at 7:30 in the morning.
You can do it. We serve coffee. We serve really strong coffee.
I would need quite a bit of it. I'm up. I'm not. Some of us just stay up all night. I cannot shut down. I write. I function.
I'm going to remind you to stay up that Monday.
I can do it once a month. Yeah. I can do it. And then just make sure. And, it's a great feeling. Last week, again, I'm very proud we're partnered. Actually, we ran into each other at USF. Mumma College of Business had their conversation with the CEO just recently with Nancy Tower. CEO of Tampa Electric. Great conversation there. But oh my goodness, it started at 8 o'clock in the morning. But I tell you, it's funny. I'm back at the office at 10:30 after being a part of an event that morning.
You had a great day, didn't you?
Yeah, of course. I'm exhausted by 10 o'clock. But then you get like that second wind, and I'm still up. It's interesting. Over years, I tried to conform and fit into what people call normal, body schedule and timing. And then you get to a certain point, we're talking about our celebration of our ages, you just accept it and you go with it and you quit trying to change. That's the one lesson I'd like to probably share, is that don't change who you are. You are the way you are for a reason, and go with what works for you. Because it's one of my favorite quotes, Albert Einstein, if a fish spends his whole life trying to climb a tree, he'll think he's an idiot his entire life, but you put a fish in the water and he can swim. So anyway. I think I said that wrong, but something like that.
Hey, I'll give you that. That was a great quote.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So Lectora Tuesday, you've been doing those quite a while now.
Going on a couple years. We've had some really great programs. We've talked about Film Tampa Bay.
Oh, great.
And some of the film efforts we've seen in the past, and talked about the issues with film credits and things like that, incentives, different programs that we have or haven't had at the state level that we'd like to see. We talked about drones. We had a great one on drones and all the regulatory and legal environment of using drones for photography.
Wow, that helped how that whole arena has changed.
Yeah, periodically, we typically do in May, a military veterans related, usually with a small business related angle for May, since Memorial Day is in May, and then in November again, we usually, given that I do have a lot of military veterans who participate, and I'm a military veteran myself, so we like to kind of focus on a couple of the months and do those. But we've talked about the history of Ybor City, and the ballpark that is on hold for right now. But still, so many great things going on in Ybor City. Our chamber has well over 300 members. Surprisingly, I know it surprises people when they hear that.
Actually, yes, I would not have thought that
a lot of great businesses, and I'm looking.
It is a great community.
Looking to see more of them, not just that entertainment district, the bars and restaurants, nightclubs on 7th Avenue, but it's those businesses that are off 7th Avenue that are doing great things, working on tech startups and different. You have different advertising agencies and marketing companies like ours, and well, are the bars are they still as relevant, or are we just old now so that we don't know and hear about them as much? I think they're relevant, and there's some great ones. And it's you know what's really nice though, it's a walkable area of the community, and so we can go out and have drinks and lunch and dinner with our clients or friends or associates. It's really a unique area of town where you can do that. You know, in other areas, like maybe over on West Shore or some of the busier business districts, it's hard to go out and just park and walk to have lunch or drinks and meet up with clients. But for us, it's easy, and you walk down the street and you'll have people wave at you or honk at you and say hello. It's really a unique part of the community that's still like family.
Well, and I mentioned the bars earlier, and maybe like not in the best. Bars are business, and I'm not condemning them at all. But years ago, when 20 years ago, when we were younger,
back when you were setting your sleeping patterns, you were
right.
You were setting them in Ybor City, weren't you?
Well, I think many of us did. If you're from the area, I mean, and I've been here 20 plus years, so I did have that part of my. Anyway, yes, early 20s, I was here. And back then, it was good and bad, but so it's evolved a lot, and as has our whole Tampa Bay. I mean,
it's experiencing a real renaissance. So not only can you come over and get a cigar, a great cup of coffee, or something like that, and just kind of, if you come over on the weekends with families, go to brunch, do whatever you like. Even seeing a little bit of retail coming in, which I like seeing. But we can't just have bars and restaurants. We have to have business people especially, who'll go in and who will frequent those bars and restaurants and take clients out for entertainment and nightclubs. We have breweries, several distilleries, breweries, Rock Brothers Brewing is one. But lots of great restaurants and options.
No, it's great there's a lot of great vibe. It's a great environment. And I am a history buff as well. So anytime I have meetings or can take, and I do a lot with the Entrepreneur Collaborative Center as well. So if I'm over there, it gives me an excuse almost to kind of take the day or take some time to walk around. Yeah,
the staff there have really been wonderful. And that has been, credit to Mark Sharp and that Entrepreneur Collaborative. They've really done great things in our community. We've seen Operation Startup in there, working with military veterans and things through HCC, and some of those organizations have grown into now Action Zone is another one that's grew out of the effort there. So just all kinds of really cool stuff going on. I love saying the word Renaissance, especially when it's truly the truth. It's a fact that we're experiencing a renaissance over there.
And interesting, and the I think I agree. Lynn Croston over there, Andy Gold fantastic. Is one of my favorite people. Beth Curley, I've met a couple times. It's a great group of. We've had Andy on the show before, and actually he's one of our contributing writers in one of the issues coming up. Very much, they're all so passionate.
I love to see, again, as a military veteran background, I love to see what we've got with this sort of a Department of Defense related community. We had SoftWorks and the Doolittle Institute come in and really become a part of the community, and now have moved into a much bigger space over there. They're doing some really fantastic things for our warfighters, solving problems. And we started an Ybor Heroes Award for the Ybor Chamber. We do that monthly. We give out an Ybor Heroes Award to someone, typically a military veteran or first responder, someone with a connection with a connection to Ybor, who's been doing things like John Robinson from the Hillsborough County Fire Rescue. He was recently honored. He's also a Marine veteran, a post 9/11 veteran, started a group, post 9/11 vets. Him and his friend Mark started that some years ago.
Oh, wow.
Have made a tremendous success, been a part of Ybor, always done lots of events in Ybor, and now he works full-time at the Fire Rescue Service and as a veteran, and does those events down there. So we honored him. We've honored Romy Camargo from Stay in Step, who's done fantastic things in our community for our warfighters with spinal cord injuries and civilians as well. So we've just had some phenomenal honorees. Jack Harris from 970 WFLA was just honored this last month. it's wonderful to be able to recognize those people,
right.
especially those people who helped not only build Ybor, rebuild Ybor, but who've always been good friends of Ybor City.
I just think, Tampa overall is just a great community where I think the older I get and maybe the more involved in the community I get, which I mean, I have been for years, but it's great to see just everybody kind of coming together and really working together. And it really...
You can't go a weekend without a great community event, whether it was, we had Tampa Pride recently in Ybor, but we have Festa coming up. The Italian Club is a wonderful, sort of one of those gems of Ybor City. All sorts of organizations. It's a pretty diverse group over there, and in Ybor, but it's oddly very welcoming and accepting, and I think we've hit a nice stride.
Now, have you always been involved, like over the years, in Ybor, or since your office was there? Did that kind of?
I got involved in the Ybor City Development Corporation and supporting them, that sort of pseudo-governmental entity, and really found my niche here with the chamber. More of a private sector guy who's out there, working in the private business sector.
Right.
Get a real good feel from that with the chamber. And yeah, I've always felt like it was incumbent upon us as business leaders to put your money where your mouth is and volunteer part of your time and give back to your community without sounding, cheesy. I really feel like if people do that, it does come back around and it pays you back.
Oh, absolutely, and it's great to get involved. I'm fortunate to be able to do that a little bit more, now and being around as long as I have been. And I was just asked to be a part of the Visit Tampa Bay board with the multicultural committee there. So working on that, they've got a new multicultural magazine that'll be launching soon, which I didn't realize.
Keep us posted on that.
I will. Yeah. I didn't realize many cities do that, and Tampa will have its very own multicultural magazine now, and so really excited to be about that. And I'll kind of find out information too about the film commission. I met Tyler over there and some of the things I know that they have in the works. So yeah, we'll have to. We'd love to see more film and that come over our way. So we're going to talk more with Travis. We're going to take a quick break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
This is the Cannabis Podcast, powered by TrueLeaf on Radio Influence. It's an inside look and the scientific facts in and around the world of medical cannabis. Now, here is your host, Ian Beckles.
He's a successful entrepreneur, published author, top listing agent, a real estate and finance expert that goes to bat for you every day as a consumer advocate. Your host and the consumer quarterback, Brandon Rhymes.
Welcome back to Getting the Edge. I'm your host, Kelly Wilson. Thank you so much for being with us today. Hopefully you're taking some time during our breaks to check out edgebusinessmagazine.com. Again, we've got a brand new issue launching here in April. Really excited about that. A lot of great editorial articles, great contributing writers. Really happy to be partnered with the USF Muma College of Business. Dean Lamayam is a great leader in our community. He is. Yeah. He's one of our contributing writers. Great article on leading through change. Just a lot of, I won't give out too much because I want everybody to be excited about seeing it. Actually, and I will say this issue is somewhat of a restaurant focus. I'll give that little bit away. We've got a lot of great people featured that are involved in the restaurant industry.
Everyone loves to eat.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm a little bit of a foodie. We're a little bit of a foodie in our house.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So really excited about that coming out, and we'll be sharing more details about that soon. We are planning a launch party, so if you're in the Tampa Bay community, we'll be sharing some information on that, or you can check out our Facebook page, Edge Business Magazine. And it's interesting, there is another Edge Business Magazine in the Tennessee area, and I've got to read. It's so funny if you even look at our logos, like they're new, and it looks like us. So make sure if you go onto Facebook and look for Edge Business Magazine, look for the right one. I've got to look into that. But anyway,
I'll help you out with that.
I appreciate it. But anyway, a lot of great things going on. So again, really happy to be here and have Travis Horn with us today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you for being here, new daddy. But we're really excited to have you. We've been talking. If you missed any part of it, make sure you go back and I would say hit rewind. I'm not sure if we still do that these days, but check out.
Scroll back. Just
scroll. Now that really takes us back into ancient times, right? But I guess it fits with Lectora and the history piece of that we've been talking about. There's a lot of great things coming to Tampa. It's such an exciting time to really be in. Let's talk about some of the things that you're involved in now. Right before break, we talked about the Medal of
Honor Convention.
Okay.
Yeah, we have that coming in October.
Oh, okay.
One of the neat things in the run-up to that, though, we have folks going out in the schools teaching what they call the character development program. I went and watched Medal of Honor recipient Gary Bykirk give a talk to Riverview High School students recently, and it was one of the most moving talks that I've ever been present for.
Oh, wow.
And it literally moved you, and it gives me goosebumps just talking about it. The students were quiet, respectful, had great questions, fantastic questions of Gary when we got to Q&A, and just told his story. Imagine if you took the movie The Green Berets and Rambo and you mishmashed them together, literally this guy would fit the bill. I think a book and a movie are probably forthcoming, but
oh, wow.
He then, after his service as a Green Beret in Vietnam, became a middle school guidance counselor for 36 plus years. So just a really incredible guy, but one of only 72 living Medal of Honor recipients.
Oh, I had no idea.
Yeah, and so they'll be gathering here in October, but in the run-up to that, we'll be out in the community, in the schools, doing the character development program, and then we'll be honoring a number of people at the Medal of Honor Convention, civilians who've contributed to, civilians and veterans who've contributed to the community, their communities.
Now, the character development program, is that being then in the high schools? Is it different?
It's elementary, middle, and high school, so all levels. So any teachers who are interested and want information, they can just Google Medal of Honor Convention or Medal of Honor Convention Character Development Program, and information will pop right up.
And, how nice.
Yeah, or reach out to us at Medal of Honor Tampa on Facebook. Yeah.
It's interesting. Again, one of my passions and purposes is really to be here and to share stories, and really because we can learn so much from each other. And it really goes back to me having, being able to interview great people. But and that's something that's changed and evolved. Years ago, nobody shared their story. They didn't talk about what they'd gone through.
It's really what I do. That's what I do for them. I help people tell their stories, and each person is unique, and they don't realize just how, like you, I really don't think you realize how great a story you have, and that you just maybe felt like you haven't told it. You're so busy tooting everyone else's horn, pun intended, that maybe you don't give yourself enough credit. But like I said, telling stories, that's what I do. As people ask me, when someone asks me, what do you do? Well, I help people tell their stories, whether it's through paid advertising and marketing, which are a part of the communications mix, or public relations, which I love to do, and it's kind of my passion. In fact, like we talked about earlier, I went to law school. I'm a law school grad from the University of Florida. I've still never sued anyone Can't even count my ex-wife because she filed the paperwork. So never sued anyone in my life. So no worries to our business leaders and friends out there who hate attorneys.
That's great to have a law degree, though, I guess.
It does. It helps you spot issues and recognize things that are coming down the pike that are a little more problematic. When you're in a meeting and someone's proposing a nifty marketing scheme that maybe could run afoul of some of the rules or law, it helps you spot.
You can say, wait a minute.
Yeah, you can raise that red flag
right.
With some credibility and make people aware. Yeah.
So did you ever want to go back to law school? Or?
No. I graduated.
So
I don't want to practice. But what I've considered going back and sitting for the bar exam. Almost because my dad's so aged now, and I thought maybe I ought to do that before he passes on and show him my bar card, show him that law school wasn't a waste. Because when I told him I wanted to go to law school, he said, "Why would you want to do that?" My folks were blue collar, working class folks. He didn't have any concept. I just always kind of had that educational chip on my shoulder where I wanted to. And it's funny because in law school, a lot of my friends, I was able to take cases in class in the Socratic method and tell a story and relate it to today's terms. And they were talking about how good I was at telling the stories. And one kid, I think, even nicknamed me Uncle Ramus or something like that. I don't know, something silly. But some of my friends said, you should really be a publicist. And I took it to heart. And that's really what I like to do. I have so many friends in the local news media, radio and television, and I like connecting them with people, business leaders especially, and telling their stories. So it fits.
Yeah.
And it's fun. And all my lawyer buddies will message me on Facebook and text me and say, "Hey, man, I really want your job because you get tickets to concerts and events and people want you to come, especially if you have social media following. They want you to come out to an event and help promote and things like that." And I tell them to stick to their lawyer job because somebody has to do it.
Yeah, well, and I think we all have our strengths and weaknesses and what we're good at. And it's funny, I don't know how I can agree with it completely, but I was watching something the other day, and the bottom line was stay in your lane, you know, and that we have our paths and what we're good at, and sometimes we want to try to do a lot of other things, and they're like, just stay in your lane. I'm like, yeah, okay, and I'm not about labels and anything, so we have to define what our lanes are. But
when you say stay in your lane, I think one of the business lessons we could learn from that is, hire good people who really know what they're doing in their line of work.
Right.
Hire good quality. I think that's maybe translated in a positive spin. It's hiring those good people who have the experience, who are maybe a little more seasoned, and like us, who've like you said, survived the competition for a number of years, and who have really made it happen. Pick those people when it comes time to hire for your project.
Well, and I think too, it's a lot of times we want to try to do things ourselves, and if you really want to be successful in something, sometimes bring in the experts, which are why people hire us and bring us in to do different things, or in any types of businesses.
That kind of leads to some of your questions you get asked in prep. Some of the best advice ever given, toughest lessons. One of the toughest things to endure as a communications pro or someone who's familiar with the media and how those cycles work is to have someone hire you and then think that they can do it better or more easily, and it's a little frustrating. That's one of the frustrations I'll admit to having had over the years. But now I think when you earn that level of respect, and like you said, you've been committed and you've shown up and you've proven that you're not going away, people start to understand, I think, lend you that respect that you deserve.
Right, and I think they start to pay attention a little more and think, one, it's so interesting, the very first magazine that I did, which wasn't even Edge, years and years before that, talk about aging myself, there's something to be said about almost naiveness, if that's a word, and not knowing, because I really didn't know the failure rates for magazines. I didn't really know that 95% fail in the first year or two. I didn't know these things, so not knowing, man, I just went out and...
what? I'm glad you didn't have that naivete. You didn't have that. That's, again, one of those traits for really successful entrepreneurs and business people is you realize you don't have all the answers to all the questions, and you're really willing to still go ahead and charge forward, and you have that belief and that passion, and you make it happen, irrespective, because there's going to be naysayers, there's going to be haters.
Everything that you do,
I know you've had a million of them over the years. I'm sure of it.
Oh, absolutely.
I know because I've had a few.
Right.
Every now and then you win an award or something, you'll get an anonymous email from a hater. But hey, I tell people it's true. If you don't have anyone talking about you, then you're doing something wrong. You're not making any waves.
No.
Get out there and make waves. Break some eggs and make an omelet, you know?
Yeah, and you really just can't pay any attention to it. And it's interesting, I had, and we've been out in the magazines everywhere, and that's great, but the more it's everywhere, the more opportunity there is for somebody to say something negative. And I you know, and there is my email, publisher email in the magazine, and I'll get emails, like very rarely, but some that just like come up with something, you know, that is just crazy that you just can't take to heart. I take nothing personally. I mean, because you there's no way 100% you can make people happy.
You can't try. You shouldn't try. You have to chart your course.
Yeah,
it's
so
not to say you don't.
That's
not to say you don't exercise diplomacy and try to handle things when you have objections. But hey,
of course,
you cannot make everyone happy all the time. That's for sure.
Absolutely not. But going back to even the being naive, it's I think as when we're childlike, we are somewhat naive. You know, we have all these dreams and ideas and things that we want to do in life, and as we get older, that it gets pushed back by real world and the people in our life telling us one way or another something. And
exactly. All those considerations. It's like I tell people when they talk about going through law school, all those books in the law area are arguments. They're problems that people had. And so as you get trained as a lawyer, it does take a little bit of that creativity and dampen it because you're worried to a degree of some of the things that might happen along the way. But I've survived that mentality.
That's like putting a magazine together and focusing and looking at it like I'm looking for all the imperfections. I'm looking for all the mistakes. You don't want to look at things and see mistakes, or imperfections. I mean, we want to look at everything. In my world, everybody's happy, everything's rosy, and somehow it is hard through life to keep that childlike, that naiveness kind of overall perspective. And somehow you just have to hold on to it.
Before you hit print to publish that magazine, you just have to let it go and say, this is a good product. Yeah. This is a good communications tool. We've done the right things, and it'll work out.
That is a very difficult point, and I assume with any artist, with anybody that's putting something together, it's letting go finally and letting it go. So anyway, we're going to talk more about that. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
This is the Cannabis Podcast, powered by TrueLeaf on Radio Influence. It's an inside look and the scientific facts in and around the world of medical cannabis. Now, here is your host, Ian Beckles.
He's a successful entrepreneur, published author, top listing agent, a real estate and finance expert that goes to bat for you every day as a consumer advocate. Your host and the consumer quarterback, Brandon Rhymes.
Welcome back to Getting the Edge. I'm your host, Kelly Wilson. Thank you for being with us today. Really excited. I'm always excited every week to be sitting here. I'm excited. I'm very thankful for the opportunity to share great stories, great advice, and great tips to all of you. So great to have Travis Horn, good friend of mine, and supporter and participant in Edge for many years. So again, I appreciate all of the support over the years. It's great to talk to you, and really, again, you've done and grown a lot and different perspectives, and a little bit in the political and a little bit in this and a little bit in that, but overall, a great supporter in a lot of different avenues. All the work that you do with all the different veterans departments and organizations. I commend you for that, and thank you for giving back and doing.
I mean, like I said, I feel like it's our obligation as business leaders to do some of those things. It's not, hey, sometimes it does become work a little bit, but you've got to do it really, and I think in the end it does pay you back. One of the things I do is mentor for veterans. Some of my fellow veterans have fallen short, some with PTSD due to, oftentimes due to drug and alcohol abuse.
Right.
And family issues have gotten in the court system. So we have a model veterans treatment court. The Hillsborough County here in the 13th Circuit is a Department of Justice model veterans treatment court. So much like we've had drug courts in the past, this is a similar model. And I'm assigned as a mentor to a couple of veterans. I have one graduating coming up soon, and another one that's turned it around and is going to graduate cum laude from USF. Oh. So really proud of him, and actually considering going to law school. Of that.
Right. Well, I mean, and you help and support, and that's great. Because, you never really know who you're affecting, and really from a positive perspective. Yeah. So
I like mentoring those people. In my job as a PR pro too, in communications, you become a bit of a mentor to business people. I've actually been with startups from the very beginning, and companies that I help name, help create their brand, help them advertising their brand, get them in the right position, and then they learn a lot, and then we get them on television, get them on the radio talking about their products or services. When you can see them come full circle like that, or even some of those established businesses who maybe have kind of gotten out of the routine and think they're maybe too comfortable and decided maybe an economic downturn or something makes them not as comfortable in their market position as they were, and then they decide to engage in communications work. I become a mentor and coach to some of those people a little bit too.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we talk about communications and PR. How did you? Where did you start? Where are you from originally?
Originally from Kissimmee, Florida. I'm a native Floridian, but.
You're a Disney guy.
Yeah. I'm from Disney. That's what I joke, and people when people in the past have asked me where you're from, Disney World.
Yeah, how
pretty
funny.
Close. Yeah,
well, not funny, but I can only imagine what it must be like. Could you grow up in
It's changed a lot.
Because you're right in the middle. How do you it'd be hard to even determine who's a tourist and who's not.
It used to. We could, because
I guess
we didn't say Kissimmee like all the out-of-towners did, but we have a big rodeo. I mean, it was a cow town. Originally. So it was a big, the cattle industry in Florida was and still is a very significant industry in Florida, but it was in the day very significant and was a big part of our community. So
wow. So then you originally thought you were going to be an attorney, so you kind of went down the law path.
Well, traveled around in the military, went back to school.
So military right after high school.
Military right after high school. In fact, 11 days after high school, I was in beautiful, balmy Fort Benning, Georgia, doing push-ups.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and then went through basic AIT, airborne school, and the Ranger Indoctrination program at Fort Benning, and then went overseas, was assigned, interestingly and oddly, assigned to a security detail for a Patriot unit in the Persian Gulf. Spent 2 years in Germany, came back to the 82nd Airborne, finished up, went back to school, realized that I did not like camping outdoors, all that time, and it wasn't something I wanted to do for 20 years.
It out. I mean, it's great to,
Well, I could have listened to my dad and only signed up for 2 years, but I wanted that Ranger contract that was a little longer, 4 years and 16 weeks. So I did that, and I wanted to jump out of planes and blow stuff up and that
what an amazing thing. I mean, it's great for us to try things, because otherwise we don't know. And the last thing we want to do, I think, is live with regrets, or what if I would have done this, maybe I shouldn't have done that, or at least, you did it and now.
That's for sure. I tell people, and I guess this counts for a lot of things in our lives. I wouldn't want to do it again for $1 million, but I wouldn't trade the experience for $1 million either. It's really, it really has kind of informed my life, and always reflect back that at least, hey, I'm not climbing a muddy mountain down in Panama in jungle school, or I'm not sleeping out in 20 below weather out in the field. So it does give you a perspective.
Absolutely.
And appreciation for clean sheets and
an appreciation
warm food
for those that live and that thrive in that and want to do that, because there is a need for.
I never forget our men and women who serve.
Absolutely, yeah.
Always do.
And that is why you're so devoted to everything that you do now, and I think that's great. But I think it's experiencing that and then seeing what that life is like too, what they go through, and that has made you.
It's colored the way I look at the world. It has, and also helped me empathize with those people who are still serving. But I'm proud I did it.
Absolutely.
And
I think it's a great those experiences.
I do work with a lot
of the puzzle
of small businesses and veteran-owned businesses and folks like that who, just like to try to. And that's why we did the War Heroes Award. In business, I feel like if we can honor some of those people and connect them and make them feel appreciated. It's gratitude when you express it is never a bad thing.
Oh, absolutely not.
No.
So if you could go back into like your younger, 20-year-old self, what advice would you give younger Travis?
Maybe sign up for those 2 years. But
2 instead of 4.
It's funny. I would have taken school a lot more seriously. That would have been one thing I would have done. But I didn't realize how business works. I didn't realize, you need a realistic budget, you need a realistic timeline. And that's really, when people come in and they talk to us about doing advertising, marketing, or PR, or whatever, any kind of communications project, you need to have a realistic set of expectations, a realistic budget, a realistic timeline, and we can help you figure out what that is. But it's not tomorrow typically. Right. And all too often, well, especially on the PR side, sometimes tomorrow on a crisis communications project is the timeline, but having that sort of system in place and understanding just how business works, how business operates, that I had no idea.
Right.
I really wish I had an entrepreneurial class, something on business in high school, middle school maybe even.
Yeah.
Have these kids starting businesses.
You have no idea how many conversations I have with that being a part of it.
Really?
Because we are educated in our professions or what we do, or even if we're going to school or not going to school, or whether we went to school for what we're doing now or not. But until you really have the life experiences, unless you have a degree in entrepreneurship, until you have the business experience, you just don't know.
It's funny little things. Like I have a client, and one of the best pieces of advice I've ever been given was he said, if you don't get it in writing, you don't get it. And
that's great advice.
That piece of advice, going forward from that day forward, I said to myself and he'd been through a lot of these companies. He had started and made a lot of money and lost a lot of money, but made a lot more than he lost. And really, it's those survivors that make more than they lose, who never say die like you, who never give up, never quit. That's what separates someone who gives up and gets out of business or goes out of business.
Well, I think we learn more. I'm bad with the quotes. I don't know who, it was a great golfer that said it. I don't remember who it was, but he said, I learn more from the shots that I miss than the ones that actually land where they need to. Yes. And I think it's so true.
That's absolutely, if you're asking me, that's absolutely true.
It has been in my experience.
Your failures inform where you're going in the future.
Yeah, by what doesn't work, you figure out what does.
I've had my share of failures.
Well, and I don't even know that I look at them like failures, because we just, was it Thomas Edison that said, I've just found 10,000 ways it doesn't work, as far as the light bulb initially, it's so he's working towards what will, or he or she, and whatever thing we're talking about in this light bulb. But it's just, that's it with everything. Our end goal may not change, it stays the same, but how we're going to get there and the path that we have to take to do it, all kinds of things come up and arise, and sometimes the end goal it shifts and it evolves. Sometimes I was going to say another quote, what is it, on the way to life, other things come up.
I tell you what, I bet you when we first met, you never envisioned a day where you would have a set and you would be videoing and posting these video series online, that your magazine would be a great success. I really don't think you don't have a crystal ball. I actually have one on my desk. I keep it as a joke. especially when someone asks me a PR question that's really probably not the most intelligent question. I'll jokingly pick it up and say that would not be a good idea.
I need one
not
of
be
those.
a good idea.
That's a great idea.
You can find them online pretty cheap. I think my wife got it for me probably 5 or 6 years ago. And,
I love that. Yeah, I need one of those.
Yeah.
No, it's, when I first, no, not at all. Things evolve, and that's what, we talked about Andy Gold briefly. Him and I will sit and talk for hours about serendipitous moments, serendipity, and kind of how things and the universe works. But, Edge will be, Getting the Edge is about 4 years old because we started with the radio show. So really soon after we launched, we were doing the radio show, and then that, I never would have thought we'd kind of, it'd be as old. It's funny when on Facebook when the memories kind of pop up, and I think, oh my God, that was 4 years ago. Oh my God, that was 3 years ago. But anyway, yeah. But no, but that is, I think, the adaptability and the embracing the opportunities for change and involvement, and that's part of what makes good leaders great.
Right.
Is part of that. Would you agree?
Yeah, I would absolutely agree. It's what separates, like I said, the people who give up and the people who don't.
So what might people be surprised to know about Travis Horn?
Surprised to know about me?
Other than your Disney and your new daddy.
I'm from Disney World. That would probably surprise them. People, I don't normally, lead off conversations, tell people about my educational background, that I actually have a law degree on the wall. So, that's not something I typically bring up to folks in conversation.
Well, just like me, you don't talk about yourself enough. You're so busy telling other people's stories. I'll help share yours, and you can help share mine. How about that?
Absolutely. We'll be a mutual fan club.
Well, really excited about the new opportunities with the Ybor Chamber. So when will you then now be a part of that?
Be sworn in as chairman. I'm actually the chairman-elect right now, and I've headed up the advertising, the marketing, and PR committee for a number of years. And so now I've been tapped to be chairman, and May 14th, Tuesday, May 14th, you better be there at the Columbia Restaurant, the iconic Columbia.
Okay.
We have our swearing in, and
well, how can people, congratulations on that. I will be there to support you in any way I can. And I'll make it to one of your Lectora Tuesdays as well.
They can check it out on ebor.org.
ebor.org. And then your Twitter handle, what is that?
Tweet your horn.
Tweet your horn.
Tweet UR horn.
All right, great.
Yeah,
well, it's great having you on the show.
If you can handle my politics, you can learn some things about business periodically.
Well, great to have you on the show, Travis. Thank you so much for being here. We'll see you next week on Getting the Edge. In the meantime, check out edgebusinessmagazine.com, or you can find us on Facebook. Have a great day. See you soon.